Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing discard your dumper to reconnect. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing discard your dumper to reconnect. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, the strategy you implement is crucial. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 points to consider about how discarding your dumper can actually help you get your ex back. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is this is about their subconscious. So you might be listening to this and thinking, this makes absolutely no sense. I mean, how can I increase the chance of getting my ex back? How can I reconnect with my ex, the dumper, by discarding them? How can I discard someone who has discarded me? How can discarding them work because they don't even want to be with me? And if you are thinking this line of thought, I completely understand. It does sound confusing. It does sound as if it is a paradox. But let me explain. Your ex-dumper made the choice to end your relationship because they sadly lost romantic emotional attraction. That's a fact. The reason that they ended the relationship is because this attraction level hit the necessary low point. At this time, they actioned the breakup and they likely want to move forward on their own path at this stage. This is because they don't feel the relationship with you is working. They don't feel it's going to be positive for them in the future if they stay within this relationship. So that point, I imagine, you're completely understanding, okay? Yes, I get that. They lost attraction. They dumped me. They don't want to be with me. They want to go on their own path. Okay, but what this doesn't describe is how their subconscious is feeling. And this is where it gets very, very interesting. Because yes, consciously, they want to go on their own path. Consciously, they don't want you to text them. Consciously, they don't want you to chase them in any way, shape or form. They want to do their thing. They want you to do your thing. But subconsciously, they are expecting you to chase them. Subconsciously, they think that you desire them so much you are going to continue to push them onto that pedestal. They believe that you want them more than anything. Now, ironically enough, that thought is probably quite accurate. Okay, maybe you do feel that you want them more than anything. Maybe you do feel you're putting them on a pedestal. Maybe you do believe they are the king or the queen and you will never find better. That is probably what you actually believe. But this is where discarding them as a dumper can come into play. Because if their subconscious mind expects you to chase and you don't chase them, you are going to be discarding them on a subconscious level. And this is how you can start to attract them back. We have to remember that there is nothing more attractive than rejection. That is why you feel all of this desire towards your dumper. Now, you might not be able to separate this right now, but I dare say that you feel more attraction towards your ex now than when you were actually together. You feel more desire, love, want for them now they're no longer with you than when you were actually in that relationship. And that is because there is nothing more attractive than rejection. And sadly, they have rejected you. So what we need to do as a dumpee is reject your ex-dumper. And you can't reject their conscious mind because they don't want you to be chasing them. They don't want you to be bothering them. But if you don't chase them, which incidentally helps on 2 levels, because it does help consciously that you are not annoying them. Remember, they don't want you consciously to chase, okay? So if you don't chase, you are helping yourself by not annoying them, but additionally, you are discarding and rejecting them subconsciously. And this is where the attraction can build. Because remember, there is nothing more attractive than rejection, and you are rejecting them subconsciously. And this is how it all links in. So when we consider, well, how on earth can I discard my dumper to help reconnect? This is how it works out. You're not going to be discarding them in a conscious sense, because you're right. They don't actually want to be in a relationship. So this is actually kind of what they want. They want you to leave them alone. And if you did the opposite of this, if you decided to pursue them, chase them, text them, then it's going to work badly for you on two levels. Firstly, it will work badly on a conscious level because you will be actively annoying them. Remember, they don't want you to chase them consciously. So if you do that, you are going to be frustrating them. They've already got a very low level of attraction towards you. You don't want to be lessening it on a conscious sense, because that definitely won't help you. But on top of this, if you were to chase them, then subconsciously, you are doing exactly what they expect. You are pushing them on that pedestal. You are treating them as the king or the queen. This is what they expect you to do subconsciously. So it's not going to be working in your favour. This is why we must do the opposite. And this is how it is possible to discard your ex, the dumper, because it's all connected to their subconscious. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you have the new hype feature, please hype this video as well. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is don't discard their contact. So we're talking about how discarding your dumper can help you reconnect. But it's really important that you don't discard their contact. Now remember what we were speaking about in point number 1, the fact that you're discarding what their thoughts in their subconscious mind expects. They expect you to chase, you're not doing that, subconsciously they feel discarded. This is going to start slowly but surely building romantic emotional attraction in their mind. Now if you can get this attraction to hit the necessary high point, this is when they will do the opposite of when it hit the necessary low point. When it hit the low point, they sadly ended the relationship and walked away. If it can hit the high point, this is when they will reach out to you. And obviously this is what we want as a dumpee that wants to get our ex back. We want to grow the attraction till it hits that high point, and then they want to reach out. So if you can do that, and using techniques by speaking of a podcast and specific strategies just for you that we can speak about via my audio coaching service, if you can increase your chance of them hitting that high point of attraction, they will likely reach out to you. And this is where it's really important we don't get things confused. Because yes, we're talking today about discarding your dumper, but we're talking about the subconscious mind from point number 1. We're not talking about discarding any contact that might come from them. Really, really important to understand. If your ex-dumper contacts you, I definitely suggest you respond. Now, of course, there might be a unique situation where maybe you shouldn't reply. Perhaps they send you a message which is really, really cruel, really, really negative, something that there is no need to reply to. Maybe this happened not long after the breakup and it is something very emotional and you just don't feel there is a positive way to reply. Every situation is different and unique, but in a generalized sense, if your ex-dumper contacts you, whether this seems necessary or unnecessary, you should reply. If you think to yourself, well, I want to discard their contact because it's still going to help me get my ex back, you need to take a step back and think about this. If you discard their contact, what are you trying to achieve? Remember, we are discarding their subconscious to rebuild attraction for them to miss you and them to reach out to you. That, of course, is the path we want to go through. We need to go down this path to eventually reconnect. If they do reach out to you and you discard them by ignoring that contact, well, how is this going to get your ex back? If you don't respond to them, how can you reconnect? What are you waiting for? What are you looking to happen? What do you want to happen for you to actually reconnect? You've got to understand and look at this clearly. If they reach out to you, it is generally a good thing, and you then need to start regrowing things, not through discarding, but through the communication stage. Congratulations, you have made it to that point if they reach out to you. So this is where we need to just separate things and don't get things confused, because when I suggest, yes, discarding your dumper can help you reconnect, you might get things muddled up and think, right, I've got to discard and reject anything about my ex to get them back. But just think about it logically. If they come back to you in a messaging sense, which I'll be honest is the most likely way they will do it, it's not likely they're going to knock on your door. It's not likely they're just going to appear with flowers or a present or a gift or whatever it may be and say, look, I'm so sorry, let's get back together. That is not likely to happen. What is more likely is you're going to receive a text which seems quite random. It could be something really basic, like, hi, how are you? It could be something that makes no sense to you whatsoever. It's very unlikely to be a Disney-esque type concept of what they are saying. It's very unlikely to be in person. So they are very, very likely to be reaching out to you via a messaging app. And if and when they do, please make sure you don't discard this contact. Don't ignore it. Don't block it. Don't do anything you think is a way of punishing them or something that you think is going to grow even more attraction. You've got the attraction you need. If they've reached out to you, you've hit the high point necessary, and this is where we now take things to the next stage. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website, www.dateme.tips, for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is date others. So when we're talking about discarding your dumper to reconnect, one of the additional ways you can really emphasize this is when you are apart is to date others. Now you might be thinking, I'm not dating anybody else. I only want my ex. Well, you need to prove to your ex dumper that you are a dateable option. And how can you prove that? Well, if you date others, then you showcase yourself as someone that others find desirable. And that is very, very beneficial when trying to get your ex back. It's called social proofing. If you think of it in respect of your ex dumper is not sure whether you are a dateable option in their eyes, but then they find out that you've dated other people, well then they're thinking, well, if you are good enough to date for these other people, then there must be something dateable about you. And therefore, it increases and grows romantic emotional attraction in their mind. Now, can I guarantee that you dating someone else is going to draw your ex-dumper into you to want to reconnect? Now, of course, I can't guarantee anything. Nothing can be guaranteed in life. But I've spoke to many dumpers where I've asked them the question, if you found out your dumpy was dating someone new, how would you feel? And most responded by saying that they would feel a level of jealousy and they would feel a level of attraction increasing. They wouldn't feel put off by it most of the time. Most dumpers who find out their ex-dumpee have dated someone new are not going to be put off. Again, I can't specifically speak about your ex. I can just say from the dumpers that I've spoke to and asked, there is a definite trend that this type of social proofing will help your cause rather than actually affect it negatively. On top of the fact that it can intrigue your ex by making them feel more attracted by social proofing, and of course the fact that if you are dating someone new, this would showcase a level of rejecting and discarding them because you're dating someone new rather than them within their subconscious, of course, as we spoke about in point number 1. As well as doing all of that, we also have to consider the benefits that you will gain for your skill set. I speak about in other podcasts the importance of practicing perishable skills. Skills that if you don't practice, you get worse at. You either use it or you lose it. And within those perishable skills are skills such as communication skills, general type dating skills, which include flirting skills. These are the things that if you are not doing, you will get worse at. You need to make sure You're not only as good as before, but actually better. And a great way of improving your skill set in this way is to date other people. Because when you was in your relationship, you was only dating your now ex. That means you only had one perspective. You only had one person that you had to try and attract. If you date different people, you're going to have to learn how to attract different people in different situations, different personality types. You will learn a lot. There is nothing wrong with dating new people when you're single. And unfortunately, dumpees, that's what you are right now. You're single. So please don't have in your mind that somehow you are cheating on your ex-dumper. You're not. You're single. They ended your relationship. You are entitled to date new people. And I really believe it can help you. Ironically enough, there is also an increased chance that at some stage you will meet someone new that you then think, well, they're actually better than my dumper, And if my ex reached out to me, I would then reject them for real. So today's podcast has been about how you can discard your dumper to reconnect with them, but maybe you date someone new, actually prefer them, even though you might not think that's possible. It totally is possible. It really is a possible outcome. You consider that they are better than your ex, then when your dumper does eventually reach out to you, you discard your ex-dumper for real. Now, although this might sound a fantasy, a situation that you don't even want, it's something which could happen. And at the end of the day, all we want in life is to feel happiness. It doesn't matter if it's with your ex, whether it's with someone new, it doesn't matter how it comes about. As long as you are feeling happiness and fulfillment, that's all that counts. So you shouldn't be scared of potentially meeting someone better than your ex. And as unlikely as you might think it is, trust me, it could happen.